Hey, greetings! Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining us. We're going through the Torah. Oh, thy word have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against thee. Yahovah, we love your words. We love the eternal and unchanging nature of those words. We are so grateful to be numbered among your people. Teach us your ways. Well, last week we covered chapters 19 and 20 of Deuteronomy. You know what? I think there's 32 chapters in Deuteronomy. We're going to get through the Torah, and it's only taken us maybe 2.5 years this time. Well, let's review what we did last week. We talked about the cities of refuge. You know, I was thinking today, why is the cities of refuge important? Why do we have those? It's all about the blood. Innocent blood has been shed in thy land. We're going to see it today. This is the place where the man, usually the man, I would think it's pretty much always going to be the man who has accidentally killed his neighbor. And now, lest the Redeemer of the blood, or the blood Redeemer, catch him and kill him before he can get to the city of refuge. When blood is shed, there's a price that's going to be paid. It may be shed, again, by the person who shed it. But it appears to me that Yahovah has provided for an innocent man who has shed innocent blood accidentally to have a place to run to be safe. It's going to change his life forever, isn't it? Because you can't ever leave the city until the high priest is dead. Well, it's all about the blood. We talked about the blood last week. We're going to talk about blood this week as well. Here, this is when Yahovah, thy Elohim. People call Yahovah, but is he thy Elohim? How do we make him thy Elohim? You've got to leave the kingdom of your Elohim, thy Elohim, and take a new lawmaker and judge. When Yahovah, thy Elohim, has cut off the nations whose land Yahovah, thy Elohim, says it twice, is giving thee, and thou possess them and dwell in their cities and in their houses. This is when we're going to have a city of refuge, not until we are in our land, those of us who have left the kingdom of our birth and joined ourselves to Yahovah and his other called out men. Here it is, innocent blood. Lest innocent blood be shed in the midst of thy land. The midst of thy land. We don't want to have blood shed in the midst of thy land, which Yahovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee as an inheritance. He says, the blood, all the blood will be upon thee. They have guilt of bloodshed. No, it's not there. All the blood. Blood, it's damim, I want to say bloodim, just because I want to make it plural, but how do you take an English word and make it plural? Bloodim, it's damim, dam is blood, damim be upon you, all the blood be upon you. He says it has to have not one witness can rise against a man, but two witnesses. Well, let me just read it. One witness shall not rise against a man concerning any iniquity or any sin that he commits. By the mouth of two or three witnesses, the matter shall be established. Last week, we saw that we're probably looking at always male witnesses. It's males who are going to stone other men and women. And children. Might be an older child. 2 or 3 witnesses it takes. It looks also, we discovered last week, that the witnesses had to be men. A man witnesses against another man. A man witnesses, men witness against women. When men witness against other men. False witnesses are going to get the punishment that the person that they're bearing false witness against would have got if they get found out. To put away the wickedness from Israel. Help Israel understand what it means to do justice and maintain equity on the earth. Really give them the fear of Yahovah. We talked about going to battle. Oh my goodness. You know, Israel, the state, requires its citizenry, men and women alike, to serve in the army, navy, armed forces. You see women carrying guns all the time, driving tanks, airplanes. We do it in the United States just as much. Is that what Yahovah expects? Do we have women fighting with us? No. False images. We don't understand Yahovah's ways. He says, when thou go to battle. Who's the thou that we're always talking to? Ezra, men. B'nai Israel. Are we talking to ladies? No. And it becomes very clear when we look at this carefully. When thou go to war against thy enemies and see horses and chariots and people more numerous than thee, do not be afraid of them, for Yahovah thy Elohim is with thee, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt. We think, oh, well, he brought the ladies out. No, we didn't. The ladies came with us. When he numbered the people that he brought out of Egypt, 600,000 plus. It was all the Ezra men. Wasn't it? First, as we're going to war, the priests are going to talk to us. Listen to what they say. Hear, O Israel, talking to Israel, the Ezra men. Today, y'all in green, are on the verge of battle with your enemies. Do not let your heart faint, nor be afraid, and do not tremble or be terrified because of them. For Yahovah, thy Elohim, context clues, Yahovah, thy Elohim, really it's your Elohim in this case. Talking about the Ezra men, Israel as a whole. He goes with you to fight with you against your enemies to save you. We want to have Yahovah fight with us. This is why we don't have women come with us. They are not going to be clean at certain times of the month, and they're going to make the whole rest of the camp unclean. We don't get it. Then the officers are going to speak to the people. Look what it says. Who is the man who built his house and has not dedicated it? Let him return. Who is the man who has planted a vineyard and has not eaten it? Who is the man who has betrothed a woman? It doesn't say who is a woman who has betrothed a man. Who is the man who betrothed a woman and has not taken her? Let him return to his house, lest he die in battle, and another man take her. They go on. This was amazing. Who's the man who is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him return to his house, lest his heart of his brethren faint like his heart. We saw that when Gideon went to battle, 32,000 men. He sent, the first time he sent men back, he sent 2/3 back. 20,000 men went back because of this very reason. Anybody who's fearful and faint-hearted, return. That diminished a lot of people. Remember, it's all about giving Yehovah the glory for the victory. This is Torah. That was Torah in use at that time. I love it. They say, when you go near a city to fight against it and proclaim and offer a peace. This is for cities, it says down here, thus you shall do to all cities which are very far from you. We're coming to the city. We're going to proclaim and offer a peace. They either take it and become under tribute to us, Israel's seed, or they don't take it and we destroy all the men of the city. We're going to take the women and the little ones and the livestock and all that is in the city, all its spoil. Thou shalt plunder for thyself, and thou shalt eat thy enemy's plunder, which Yehovah, thy Elohim, gives thee. But now he talks about, where is it? Here it is. But the cities of these people, which Yehovah, thy Elohim, gives thee as an inheritance, thou shalt let nothing that breathes remain alive. We're going to kill everything that remains alive, or that's in the cities that were taken. You know what? Is that what's going to happen for the earth in these last days? It'll be interesting to see how Yehovah does this. There's going to be portions of the earth that Israel is going to take. Are they going to take the whole earth? I think it's going to be a lot like Canaan. We're going to take it piece by piece by piece by piece. Be interesting to see how it's going to happen. Will there be people who will be put under tribute to us? I'm talking about Israel's seed. I'm talking about people that are claiming the United States. People who are claiming Africa. People who are claiming all the nations of the earth. If you're the nations of the earth, you better watch out. Because Israel's seed is coming. He is going to deliver his people a second time. And remember, the earth is Yehovah's and all those who dwell in it. Why do we destroy everything that's in the land that we're going to take? Here it is right here, verse 18. Lest they teach you to do according to all their abominations, which they have done for their lawmakers and judges. And you sin against Yehovah, your lawmaker and judge. That's the reason. We don't want to learn false ways. We want to always follow only Yehovah so that we can lead our families in righteousness. Well, that was the end of chapter 20 and the material that we covered last week. We're going to start some new material today. I'm going to try and get through Deuteronomy 21 and Deuteronomy 22 today. I'm not prepared to do 23, so if it takes a little bit shorter, that's going to have to be how it is. Here, still talking about innocent blood. You know what? We don't understand. Blood is a very serious commodity to Yehovah. We see it in the meat that we eat. Meat slaughtered to other Elohim. Meat slaughtered in ways that are not Yehovah's ways of doing it. That is the blood that is on us. In Psalm 51, it says, deliver me from guilt of bloodshed. No, it says, deliver me from all the blood. We have got blood on our hands. We are eating meat right now that has been slaughtered inappropriately by others, according to the statutes and judgments and the ordinances of this world. Soon, my family is going to have a little bit more cash flow. And we're going to be able to buy a goat, a lamb, and we're going to have more meat in our family. We're going to have to buy a freezer. I refuse to eat meat slaughtered except by me. I won't eat it. Carissa has been taking some things just because she's so sick, but I do not like it at all. She's been having some kosher meat, and from what we've seen, kosher. What's kosher? Any meat that's kosher is going into, again, they're slaughtering it. It's supposed to go into the ground. Where does it go? It goes into a pot because it's done on a large scale. Not what Yehovah intended. And hopefully that finally gets into the ground. But that's not what Yehovah is asking for. This blood is serious. This is why we're talking about this. If anyone is found slain, lying in the field, in the land, which Yehovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee to possess. Second person, singular, male. Thy land, thy Elohim, he gave it to me. And now a dead person has been found in my field. Oh my! And it is not known who killed him. Oh, what are we going to do? Look at this. This is Numbers 33. This is talking about the cities of refuge. So you shall not pollute the land where you are, for blood defiles the land. And no covering can be made for the land for the blood that is shed on it, except the blood of him who shed it. Well, what do we do if we don't know who shed it? This apparently is what we're going to do. Here's another one. This is what we covered last week. Lest innocent blood be shed in the midst of thy land, which Yehovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee as an inheritance, and thus all the blood be upon thee. Oh, I don't want the blood on me. What am I going to do? I don't even know who killed him. This is the solution. It says, then thy elders and thy judges shall go out and measure the distance from the slain man to the surrounding cities. And it shall be that the elders of the city nearest the slain man will take a heifer. It's going to be their land. They're the ones that are responsible for this dead body, this shed blood. Take a heifer, which has not been worked, which has not pulled a yoke. You know what? This should tell us something. We've got to think about these kinds of things because we've got to treat this blood seriously. Obviously, it's not an issue in this day and age, is it? Especially in this wicked world that we live in right now. But when we have our land, these are things that we've got to consider. Do we want to always have a heifer that has never, what does it say? Which has never been worked, which has never pulled a yoke? Yes, we want to have one of those around. He says, the elders of the city shall bring the heifer down to a valley with flowing water, which is neither plowed nor sown. And they shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. Okay, here's another thing that we got to have then. We have land. Extensive land, it appears to me. All of our land is going to have a valley in it. What does it say? A valley with flowing water, which is neither plowed nor sown. We've got to reserve a place in our land so that we have a valley that has flowing water, which has never been plowed or sown. Just for such a case as this. What do you do if you don't have a valley that's never been sown or plowed? Just doesn't have flowing water. How do you get rid of the blood in your land? See, these are things that we've got to take into consideration for future. You can't wait until the last minute. Can't fly by the seat of your pants. We're talking about doing things deliberately. The elders of that city shall bring the heifer down to the valley flowing with water, which is neither plowed or sown, and they shall break the heifer's neck in the valley. And the priests, well, look at this. The priests, Levi's seed. Yeah, the priests are Levi's seed, but how come they don't say the priests, Aaron's seed? Wouldn't you expect them to say the priests, Aaron's seed? It says, then the priests shall come near, for Yehovah, thy Elohim, has chosen them to minister to him. Remember, the priests are Yehovah's representatives on the earth. What they say is what he says. What he says is what they say. They are his shalakim. Oh, here, remember, the priest's word is Yehovah's word. They are his shalakim, sent ones, anointed and consecrated to represent him. When we bring something to Yehovah, it's given to the priests, isn't it? It's either burnt in the fire and the remainder of it goes to the priests. They are his representatives. Then the priests, again, Levi's seed, here it is right here, B'nai Levi, Levi's seed. What is this word? Kohen. That's the Kohanim, the Kohanim. The priests, it's priests, priests. Okay, how many priests? 2 priests? All priests? How many priests? I want to get it right. This is important. Again, we don't have enough information, do we? Fortunately, we don't have to be too concerned about it right now. But there will be a time when we need to be concerned about it. But I think by then, we will see that when Yehovah brings back Zion, his watchmen will see eye to eye. We're going to know better what is expected of us. Right now, we're just learning to prepare. What does it say? For Yehovah, thy Elohim, has chosen them to minister to him and to bless in the name of Yehovah. By their word, every controversy and every assault shall be settled. Do you hear that? They have the final word. You know, the king, he wants to make a decision as to what he should do. He goes to the high priests, who has the Urim and the Thummim. The Urim and the Thummim. There we go. And he asks the priests for directions. This is the righteous king asking the priests so that he can get the will of Elohim before he makes a decision. David did this when his family was taken. He sought the priest, the high priest, and he said, shall I go after them? Will I recover all? Yehovah answered back through the priests, pursue, for surely you shall recover all. Sounded like, yes, yes. Their word. By their word, every controversy and every assault shall be settled. And the elders of the city nearest the slain man. Remember now, we're slaughtering this. Well, actually, it wasn't so much a slaughter. Didn't it say break his neck? They shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. Isn't that interesting? What does it take to break a heifer's neck? Is that an easy process? I wouldn't think. We're talking about a heifer. It doesn't say how old of a heifer, does it? Heifer which has never been worked, which has never pulled a yoke. It could be a very young heifer. But I would think breaking his neck, that would take some strength, wouldn't it? Does it take more than one to do it? Here's what the elders of the city, and all the elders of the city nearest the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. So we're washing our hands. It's significance of saying we have clean hands. And what are we saying? And they shall answer and say, our hands have not shed this blood, nor have our eyes seen it. They are swearing, probably in Jehovah's name, that they have not involved in this shedding of blood. Their eyes have seen it. They know nothing about it. Now the priests are going to respond with this. Let me see what it says here. Yeah. Now the priests are going to respond to their sworn testimony. This is their sworn testimony. Our hands have not shed this blood, nor have our eyes seen it. Now they say, cover Yehovah, thy people, Israel. Who are the people that we're talking about? The Ezra men. Cover thy people, Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, and suffer not innocent blood to remain in the midst of thy people, Israel. Twice he said who the people are that he's talking about. They're Israel. And they will be forgiven this bloodshed. I want to see that word bloodshed. Let's see what it says. They will be forgiven the blood for the blood. We don't want the blood on us. We want to make sure that this blood is taken care of. Having a curse on our land, the place where we raise our herds and grow our crops, is a very serious thing. We can't afford to have a curse on our land. I don't think I finished this verse. Provide, cover. It says provide atonement. Christian ideas. You always use this word atonement for kafar. It's cover. Kafar is cover. Here it is right here. Cover. Kafar. Cover. This is be merciful unto thy people, for thy people. For thy people, to thy people. You could say it that way. But it's cover. Cover. Look, it says cover. You look at these things. This is the root, cover. But then you see things expedite, condone. Those are okay. But see the dash? There's a colon and then there's a dash. Everything under the dash or after the dash in Strong's is how other translators translate it. It's not the definition, you guys. Don't be deceived into thinking that's the definition. You've got to dig deeper. This is why I use things like this. Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible. Word study. I've got one other on here. This is the North American. That's not really one that I use so much. Strong's. I guess that's pretty much it. Sometimes this one, International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, is helpful. But when you're looking at a Hebrew word, here, let me just pull this up for a second. Here's the choices that I have to work with. Strong's, Word Study, and Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible. You guys, that's gold. That's gold if you want to understand the words of Yahovah. Both of these two resources. Concordance of the Tanakh. No, I don't really use that. I don't use that. I guess those are the three that I mainly use. Word Study, Strong's, and Ancient Hebrew Lexicon of the Bible. Cover. If we're talking about covering, don't get confused with atonement. It's a Christian word that, what does it even mean? We're covering. The day of covering is not the day of atonement, it's the day of covering. We're covering lots of things with blood that day. And one of the things that you're covering is Israel. If you're not Israel, if you're not the Ezra man, you ain't covered. Get covered. Become Israel. This is why the Day of Atonement is so important. This is why the Feasts of Yahovah starts with Passover, because that's where you become the Ezra man. So much to learn, so little time. Okay, going back. Let's continue. So you shall put away the blood of the innocent. It's ha-dam, ha-innocent. Here's the word they're using, naki. Ha-naki. The blood of the innocent. They say the innocent blood. The blood of the innocent. I want to know when there is a definite article there. It helps us develop deeper understandings. So you shall put away the blood of the innocent from among you, when thou do what is right in the sight of Yahovah. Again, I want to know when it's a singular, when it's a plural. Second person plural. Put away the innocent blood, or the blood of the innocent from among y'all, when thou do what is right in the sight of Yahovah. Now, look at this. When you go to war when thou go to war against thy enemies, and Yahovah, thy Elohim, remember we're talking about Yahovah, thy Elohim, thy Elohim, delivers them into thy hand, and thou take them captive. And we're going to talk about taking a beautiful woman for ourselves as our woman. What if we already have a woman? What if the man is already married? Exodus 21 says, if he takes another woman, he shall not diminish her food or clothing or her marital rights. Isaiah 4:1 says this, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own food, wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Same thing. I heard somebody the other day trying to say that this is when Israel's going into apostasy. They're taking 7 women to themselves. No, this is the end of days, when the women are finally realizing they need a covering. We're going to talk about head coverings today. This is what it's all about. A woman needs to be covered. She needs a man to follow, to have and be in Yahovah's created purpose for her life. No man, no relationship with Yahovah. Find a covering and get under it. Follow your man. I know, we got 2 widows in the class today. My heart breaks. But you're both doing the things that you need to do. I'm so pleased. When thou go out to war against thy enemies, and Yehovah thy Elohim delivers them into thy hand, and thou take them captive, and thou see among the captives a woman of beautiful appearance, is actually what that says. A woman of beautiful appearance. And desire her and would have her for thy woman. Hear that? Look at this. They see, they desire, they take her for thy woman. This is what happened with Dinah. But remember, we're talking in the context of going to war. Then we're going to see a beautiful woman among the captives. She has no mother. She has no father. She has no relatives. She has no covering. They're being divvied up among Israel. We're going to take the captives for ourselves. But if you see a beautiful woman, maybe you desire her. This is what happened with Shechem and Dinah and Jacob and his sons. Let's talk about this for a moment. Here, I'm going to open this up just a little bit here. That's where I want it. Okay, Shechem, in his taking of Dinah, treated her like a virgin captive taken in battle with an enemy. He made her his concubine when he stole Dinah from her father. This is an adulterous action. This was an adulterous action. He was taking another man's woman. You know, you think about adultery. This was an adulterous affair. Shechem took another man's woman for himself. But it's very interesting to see what actually happened with this. Now add to that the fact that Dinah was only 8 years old, and the only daughter of Jacob, 99, and the only sister of 10 older brothers. Joseph and his younger brother Benjamin had not been born. And now that she has been defiled, made tameh, unclean, no righteous man will want her. And last, but certainly not least, Dinah is still being held captive in Shechem's house. Here's what they said about what happened with Shechem. Check it out. See if you see any familiarity here. We're just talking about see and desire and take. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, the prince of the land, it says, and he saw her, and he took her. He saw her, and he took her, and he laid with her, Shekab, and humbled her. Keep in mind, when we finish this, we're going to be talking about verse 17, or verse 14, because you have humbled her. It's the same thing. He was treating this girl, Dinah, as if she was a captive. But she wasn't a captive. He had just simply taken her from her father. You know what? That's what happens all over the world, isn't it? We take these women without their covering's permission. You know, I had somebody tell me once that the real license to be married comes from the father, not the state, from the father. See, the state think they are the father. That's why they want to do it like that. But true license to be married is given by the father. That's why you ask the father's permission to marry his daughter. That's why the father gives his daughter to the man. But we're talking about a captive who is, what is it? a woman of beautiful appearance. See a beautiful woman among the captives, and desire her, and would take her to be thy woman. Then thou shalt bring her to thy house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. Did you hear that? Who's doing it? Are you doing it? No, this is something that the woman is going to do. She's shaving her head. Why is the woman shaving her head? Why is she trimming her nails? The nails would seem pretty obvious, so that she's not going to hurt anybody. Remember, this is a woman who is in great grief, really, right now. Her life has been uprooted. Her mother and her father have been killed. Probably her brothers have been killed. And now she is being taken by, really, they're all being taken. All the captives are being taken by somebody. But this woman of beautiful appearance is being taken by this Ezra man. Shaving her head. Why do we shave our head? You know, I wrote an article on this. It's called Head Coverings. And it really goes back into some things that are written in even the New Testament, which, as you know, I'm no advocate of. But it's talking about a woman who is going to shave her head. The shaving of the head is a symbol of her lack of covering. Let her shave her head if she has no husband. This is why we're shaving her head, because it's an outward sign of what's going on in our life. I, the woman who just lost my mother and my father, have no covering. It says, look at the next verse. So she shall put off the clothes of her captivity, remain in thy house, and mourn her father and her mother for a full month. She's going to take off her clothes, shave her head, trim her nails. Is this an outward sign of her desperate need right now for a covering? I think it is. It's to help her understand. I don't have a way of getting clothes unless this man gives them to me. I am completely dependent on this man. I have no covering. Can't go to my relatives, they're dead. I'm completely dependent on this man. I think this is what's happening. After that, thou may, here, let me see what it says here. After that, thou shalt go unto her, and thou shalt master her. Master her, here. Thou shalt go, here's the word for go. Just simply go, come, thou shalt come to her, bo, very common. Come unto her and Baal her. Baal. And Baal her. And she shall be thy woman. You know, we see Baal her. Come to her and Baal her. Is that the sexual act? We see Baal all the time. Baal gets translated as married all the time. But he's becoming her master. And thou shalt Baal her. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her. Here's a woman. You know, we got to get this in perspective. This woman is alive. Her mother and her father are dead. How is she going to take care of herself? She is going to be a captive, but because she's a woman of beautiful appearance, she's being taken by this Ezra man. Why do we feel like the Ezra man is evil? This is a man that has learned to follow Yehovah. This is a man who has left the kingdom of his birth. This is a man who loves righteousness and loves equity. Is that a bad thing? This is a man who's a son of the Elohim and the heir of righteousness. He has land because Jehovah owns the land and he's the son. He's the good guy, you guys, not the bad guy. Why do we treat him like he's an evil guy? Because he saw a beautiful woman and desired her for his own? Is that evil? Come on, ladies. We don't get it. Would you rather be taken as a servant? You just got taken captive. Do you want to be taken by a man who is the son of Elohim so that you can be bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh? You can become a daughter of the Elohim, the creator of the world. You can't do it any other way. And yet we treat this as evil. Now, the woman made herself unsatisfactory to the man who took her. He humbled her. And she didn't like it. She's like the world today. He found no delight in her. He says, then thou shalt set her free. This says, but. Let's find out what it actually says. Go into her and be her Baal, and she shall be thy woman. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou wilt set her free, but thou certainly shalt not sell her for money. Oh, I've got but in there too. That's not there. You shall set her free. Here's what it should say. You shall set her free. I should look this up. I don't know why it's not in there. Thou certainly shall not sell her for money. Thou shalt not treat her brutally, because you have humbled her. This is what we're talking about. Don't sell her for money. You didn't find any delight in her. Bummer! Bummer for her! Let me explain some things here. This humbling. Is humbling a bad thing? Or is humbling a good thing? You know what? When I came to Yehovah, I had to humble myself. I had to say, Yehovah, I have been following other Elohim that aren't you. I've been disobedient. And I'm sorry. And I had to put my life in order with Yehovah's created purpose. It's not a bad thing. This humbling, is what I put, is not just the sexual act. You know, this is what we want to make it. Humbling is the sexual act. It's not. Don't confuse it. It is everything that has previously happened. Woman, you need to cut your hair, shave your head. Okay. You need to trim your nails. Okay. All these things were part of the humbling experience. Here, I just wrote this. The death of her father and mother. That is a humbling experience, taking her from her community and choosing her from among the captives. Being chosen. Maybe that's not a humbling experience. Maybe that should be a gratifying experience. To be chosen among all the captives. To be singled out as special. I put the month-long removal of her clothes. Dwelling in your house naked for a month. The cutting of her hair and her nails. And finally, the taking of her. The sexual act. It's all the humbling experience. But is it bad? Or, remember, she didn't please this man. And now he's going to set her free. You think that's good? No, that's not good. What is she going to do? What does it say? And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt set her free. Thou shalt certainly not sell her for money. You could say, nor shall you treat her brutally, because thou have humbled her. You've already humbled her. You've humbled her in so many ways. But she didn't want to be humbled. She didn't want to take and follow the new Baal, the new master. She'd been a servant. What would have happened to her? She'd maybe been whipped. You will do what I ask you to do. Who knows? I put most will consider all this bad because of their preconceived ideas about men of the world versus Yahovah's Ezra men. They treat the Ezra men as if they're the men of the world, but we're talking about night and day, light and darkness, wicked and righteous. Now consider this. Here's a foreign woman who previously had no relationship with the Creator, but now has become bone of an Ezra man's bone and a daughter of Yehovah. The real choice a woman has is to be humbled and thrive in that condition. The real choice, I want to say the only choice a woman has is to be humbled and thrive in that condition. I went back and forth in while I wrote this, so that she does not have to be put out on the street. That's the real choice. It's to be humbled. The real choice a woman has is to be humbled and then thrive. Here, let's do this. And then thrive in that condition. I was humbled, and now I'm learning to thrive in that condition. That's the goal of a woman. Follow your man. The problem is we raise women to be men, don't we? We're going to talk about that in the next chapter, if we even get to it today. We teach our women to be men, not to be humbled. Our women don't want to be humbled. They want to lead. So she does not have to be put on the street. That would be the humbling experience. Being put out on the street, you see, go free. Oh, she's lucky. She gets to go free. No, she's not lucky. That's the humbling experience. That would be the humbling experience. Now any man can take her. She's fair game out there. She'll probably end up living as a prostitute or taken as a female servant or dead. You know, you forget, we're talking about a society that is led by the men, not the women. She's not going to become a CEO. Well, here, let me just finish what I wrote here, because I know that's what you're thinking, isn't it? I know many of you are now saying maybe she'll become a successful businesswoman, Michael. She could make it on her own. My answer is this: success in the world by living as a man versus learning to be humbled and submissive to a man in accordance with Jehovah's created purpose for a woman are not the same thing. We don't measure success by trying to live as a man. We measure success by conforming ourselves to Jehovah's created purpose for our life. That's true success. I put the choice that some women have is who they will be humbled by. That's not a bad thing. But you want a man who follows righteousness. But remember, it's not about sex. It's about life and every woman's created purpose. There are going to be a lot of women, all the captives that were taken, got put somewhere. They became some man's. They are going to be humbled. Is it better to have a choice? Is it better to be taken by a man that wants you? Is it better to be taken by a man who is an Ezra man? Of course, they're all going to be taken by Ezra men. They're all going to be assimilated into the households. If there are male servants among them, they'll be taken into the men's households. But the real choice, as I say, for the woman is who will they be humbled by? It reminds me of a song, Bob Dylan. You got to serve somebody. It may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody. Well, that's how it is. But we got to go beyond that. It's not about the women serving the Lord. The men need to learn to serve Yehovah. And they do that by leaving the kingdom of their birth. The women need to learn to serve their man. First their father, and then their man. Your father and your mother are killed, you're taken captive. You may serve another man. Still, learn to do it. Everybody's got to serve somebody. If you've got a choice on who you can serve, find a good man. There's a reason 7 women want to take hold of one man in the last days. Because they got smart and now they realize, let's choose a good one. Let's become bone of that man's bone and flesh of that man's flesh. This is what we're talking about. Well, look at the very next thing we talk about here. If a man has 2 wives, 2 women in his life. It doesn't say wives, it says women. One loved and the other unloved. And they have borne, it says, to him sons. They put children. Why children? We're talking about sons in this thing. They don't even use it in the context correctly. Both the loved and the unloved. And the firstborn son is of her who is unloved. We're talking about multiple wives, aren't we? Clearly, if a man has 2 wives, 2 women, one love, they both born him children, sons, obviously having sex, aren't they? Is that adultery? See, we don't get it. We talk about polygamy and we don't understand what polygamy is. We don't understand what polygyny is. I wrote an article, polygamy versus polygyny. Polygamy is what's illegal in our nation, your nation, the nation of the United States of America. In that corporation, polygamy, multiple spouses, is illegal. But multiple women, polygyny, is not illegal. The trick is to not have those lawmakers and judges as your lawmaker and judge. Have Yehovah as your lawmaker and judge. You know, I always go back to the Christian church. That's where I came from. You know, that's what we're talking about. They're the ones who are so uptight about understanding that a man can have multiple wives, women in his life. David had 12 women in his life or more, and concubines on top of that. But look at, even in their New Testament, it says a bishop must be blameless, the husband of one woman. Temperate, sober, good behavior, hospitable, able to teach. The husband of one woman. Does that not suggest that a husband of more than one woman can't be a bishop? Otherwise, he didn't say he must be married. No, the husband of one woman. It says it in Titus here too. If a man is blameless, the husband of one woman, having faithful sons, not accused of dissipation or insubordination. You guys, if you haven't read the article on the origins of the New Testament on my blog, New Testament Origins, look it up. Do a search on my blog. You'll find it. I just posted it this last week or a couple weeks ago. New Testament Origins. It's amazing. You really got to see it. 2 wives, 2 women in his life. They both bore him sons. The firstborn son is the one of her who is unloved. Then it shall be on the day that he bequeaths his possessions to his sons, that he must not bestow firstborn status on the son of the loved woman. Remember, the son of the unloved woman is the Bekor, the firstborn. He's the one who's going to get the double portion. If he has property, he's got 2 sons, it's going to divide it 3 ways. 2 parts are going to go to one son, and the last part is going to go to the other son, or to the firstborn son. Then the last part is going to go to the secondborn son. That's the double portion. It shall be on that day that he bequeaths his possessions to his sons, that he must not bestow firstborn status on the son of the loved woman in preference to the son of the true firstborn, of the unloved, the true firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the son of the unloved woman as the firstborn by giving him a double portion of all that he has. For he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. Okay? We're talking about bequeaths. This is what we've got to do. This is the way it's supposed to be done. Then his father and his mother shall take hold of him. Oops, I'm sorry. I got to start here on 18. This is a new thought. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son. I went and looked this up. Stubborn and rebellious. That's a good way of saying it. Stubborn and rebellious. I'm going to read it on the right-hand side so you can see it there. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son, who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, who when they have chastened him, he will not heed them. Then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city, to the gates of the city, and they shall say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. Stubborn and rebellious. He will not take instruction. Can we have a man in our life who will not take instruction? Can we have a man in our kingdom who will not take instruction? How is that any different than the woman who was humbled? This man refuses to be humbled, doesn't he? This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is uncontrollable. Here it is, Zalal. Shake, quake, loose. Uncontrollable. We can't guide and direct him. And a drunkard. Then the city's men shall stone him to death with stones. Here's a woman that got set free. That's a lot better than being stoned with stones, isn't it? Then all the city's men, so they might have put the men of the city. No, the city's men shall stone him to death with stones. Who's there? It's the ladies that are doing it? No, it's always the men who are going to do the stoning, not the ladies. Stone him to death with stones. So you shall put away the evil from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. 2 more verses. If a man, I put this as kind of a subheading underneath this one about the stubborn and rebellious son. Remember, here's a man who's going to be put to death. He's stubborn and rebellious. Can't have stubborn and rebellious men in our land. They got to learn righteousness so that they can teach righteousness to their families. Won't learn righteousness. Can't keep them in the land. This is a man who will not keep the Passover, not bring the offering at the appointed time. Jehovah's offering at the appointed time. That man shall bear his own sin, and he shall be cast out from among his people. Well, this is really getting cast out from among his people. Put to death. Well, here it says about the man who is put to death. If a man has committed a sin deserving of death, and he has been put to death, and you hang him on a tree. He is put to death, and you hang him on a tree. Let me see if I put that in. He shall be put to death, and thou shalt hang him on a tree. And thou shalt hang him on a tree. His body shall not remain overnight on the tree, but thou shalt surely bury him that day, so that thou do not defile the land which Jehovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee as an inheritance. For he who is hanged is accursed of Elohim. This is scriptures. Let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for thou shalt certainly bury him the same day. For he who is hanged is accursed of Elohim. Yeah, accursed of Elohim. I guess I have it in pink because that's not a good thing. You don't want to be accursed of Elohim. So that thou do not defile the land which Jehovah, thy Elohim, is giving thee as an inheritance. All right. Well, this last chapter, oh gosh, it's 1:20 already. Let's try and see how far we can get. We'll stop around 1:30. It starts, thou. Almost all of this is thou, 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 thou. Sometimes I feel like it should be you, but they have thou. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or thy sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt certainly bring them back to thy brother. Okay, who are we talking to? First, we're talking about the thou. Now we're talking about the brother. Thou and thy brother. Who are these people? I'm going to suggest to you that these are going to be spiritually born men bringing back the property of their spiritually born men. Now, these men live together. They likely can be brothers, literal brothers. But the man who doesn't keep the Passover is not going to remain in the land, is he? So there's more to this story. We dwell together as a nation. Families dwell with families, and we expand our families from there in our land. All Dan dwells together with the sons of Dan. Ephraim dwells together with all the sons of Ephraim. They're all related. They're all brothers in that sense, but we're talking about something more. Remember, it's the Ezra men who hold the land. It's the Ezra men who are going to have the crops. It's the Ezra men who are going to have the sheep and the goats and the herds, the donkeys. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox, his sheep. It says that own his flocks, going astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt certainly bring them back to thy brother. You know what? Truthfully, if we have large gates and our servant sees the brother's ox going astray, he, as thy servant, represents thee. If he ignores it, you ignored it. So it's got even a bigger picture here, because we've got to train our families, our servants, who are out and about taking care of these kinds of things more, to keep our eyes open for these kinds of things. He's talking to men in Israel, spiritually born men, about men, those who are his brother. I put physical or spiritual. Again, I think it's more than physical. I think it has to go to spiritual. This is the word they're using, aki, ak. Thy brother, thy brothers. His brothers, thy brothers. I think we're talking spiritual. Again, you can have a brother, but if he doesn't keep the pads over and be a spiritual man, he's not going to stay. He's going to get kicked out of the land. So the only men there are spiritual born men. And if thy brother is not near thee. Okay, so first we had one that was near thee and we brought it back to him. But now we have one that's not near him, or we don't know whose it was. If thy brother is not near thee, or if thou do not know him, then thou shalt bring it to thy own house, and it shall remain with thee until thy brother seeks it. Then you shall restore it to him. So we're going to go the extra mile and take care of this animal's needs until his brother shows up to claim him. Thou shalt do the same with his donkey. So not only his herd or his ox or his sheep and goats, but also with his donkey. And so shalt thou do with his garments, with any lost thing of thy brother's, which he has lost, and thou hast found. Thou shalt do likewise. Thou must not hide thyself. Thou shalt not see thy brother's donkey, or his, now this is a new thought, but a sub-thought of the first one. Thou shalt not see thy brother's donkey or his ox fall down along the road, and hide thyself from it. Thou shalt surely help him lift it up again. There's a lot. I mean, this whole chapter is just mixed things that we're talking about. Here's where I want to stop today. I want to get to this one here. It says, a woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garment. For all who do so are an abomination to Yehovah, thy Elohim. Yehovah, thy Elohim. How come it says a woman first? These are all written to Yehovah's Ezra men. Yet in this one it says, a woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garments. I think it is because it's more likely that a woman would dress like a man than a man would dress like a woman. But keep in mind, this dress code is cultural. What do I mean by cultural? You know, we've got our Christian missionaries, you know, they go to New Guinea or the Aborigine, and they're going to evangelize and teach them the good news of the kingdom. They don't know what the good news of the kingdom is, but that's what they're going to teach them. What do they teach them? They teach them about believe in Jesus. And then what do they teach them? They teach them to put on ties and dresses. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. They don't need ties and dresses. This is not what it's about. A woman shall not wear anything that pertains to a man. A man, nor shall a man put on a woman's garments. Here, let me just read you a couple things here. What pertains to a man and what pertains to a woman varies from culture to culture. What men wear in the Aboriginal nations and what women wear in the Aboriginal nations are perfectly acceptable. Leave them alone. But if the woman in the Aboriginal nation starts wearing the things that a man wears in the Aboriginal nation, that's the problem. Don't do that. But I think it goes beyond this because we are so inclined and we got a woman dressing as a man. What about women who have and perform roles that are supposed to be performed by a man? They not only wear men's clothing, but they perform roles of what a man should do. How about the army? Women wearing uniforms, doing the things that men are supposed to do. Worse, so that's one. We have women wearing men's clothes. That's bad. We have men wearing women's clothes. That's bad. But then we have women acting like men, performing the roles of men. That's worse. How about women leading men? Is that even worse? Oh, my people, women and infants are leading you. This is when we've gone into the deepest darkness depths of wickedness. And now we have women and infants leading us. No. You know, we always turn to Deborah. Oh, well, Deborah, she was a judge. Deborah came when no man would do the role. This was a bad time, not a good time. She took over, and that showed the destitute of Israel's condition. Women were leading the men, and even she said, I won't go unless this man goes. You know, we see a soundbite, and we want to build our theology based on the soundbite and ignore the whole of the scriptures. You can't live like that. In a community where it's people understand the role of a man and the role of a woman, these behaviors would not be tolerated. You know what? That's the problem. We live in a world that's getting worse and worse and worse. We don't see it because we're like the frog in a pot of water, and the pot's getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, and the frog doesn't know to jump out. This frog did. He said, what am I doing here? There's got to be a better place. I jumped out of the pot in 1999. Unfortunately, my woman stayed in the pot. When will you get out of the pot? When will we learn the role of a man and the role of a woman? This is what we've talked about so much today. The role of a woman being humbled, following your man. Don't be set free. You don't want to be free. That's not a good thing. That's the humbling thing. Well, it probably is going to result in their demise. At least a spiritual demise anyway. All right, well, that's as far as I'm going to take us today, you guys. I'm going to stop here. We'll pick up on 22:6 next week. Thank you for joining me. I'm so glad you all were here today. Please come by again. Remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel. We're going to finish this soon. I'm not planning on doing this again. I've done it twice now. But I've got all of the scriptures covered from Genesis 1 all the way through Deuteronomy 32 right now on YouTube. They're all there. Start on 1 and start listening. Start learning. We've learned lies. We've got much to learn. But you know what? The light is coming into the world. Righteousness is beginning to rise in this world. I was going to say in this nation. No, not this nation, in this world. People are going to start to see the light and say, I don't want to be a part of the darkness anymore. I can help you see more light. It helps us go along the path of life if we have good light. Well, we'll see you all next week. Thank you for joining me. Bye now.